They told you it's a willpower problem. Your finances are a mess because you lack discipline, because you can't say no, because you're just not wired the way successful people are. And honestly, that story is incredibly convenient for everyone selling it, because a Duke University study found that 40% of your daily actions are not decisions at all. They run on autopilot. Your brain offloads them to conserve energy for things it considers important. 40% on autopilot. Every single day. Now here's where it gets interesting. The wealthiest households in the United States don't have more self-control than everyone else. They don't meditate more. They don't suffer more. They don't white-knuckle their way through every financial decision. They automated the unsexy stuff. They removed willpower from the equation entirely. And the difference between someone who builds real wealth quietly over a decade and someone who keeps spinning their wheels, it's not income. It's not raw effort. It's systems. Boring, invisible, automatic systems that run while their brain is occupied with literally anything else. So we're breaking down 10 habits today. Not the Instagram aesthetic kind. Not the wake up at 5 a.m. and visualize abundance kind. The kind that quietly compounds into $100,000 over time, with zero deprivation and zero aesthetic appeal whatsoever. Nobody puts these habits on a vision board. Nobody makes a reel about them. But they're the actual mechanism behind money that stays. The stuff that works precisely because it's invisible and automatic and completely unimpressive to talk about at a party. Legally, I gotta say, none of this is financial advice. Personally, I'd say it's just common sense they don't teach you in Econ 101. Before we get into the list, let's finish killing the myth. The self-help industrial complex sold you a beautiful lie. Wealth comes from discipline. Build enough willpower and everything else follows. That's not just wrong, it's strategically wrong. Because every time you fail, you go back and buy the next course. The cycle is very profitable for someone, just not you. Stanford research on ego depletion showed that willpower is a finite resource. The more decisions you make throughout the day, the worse your decision-making quality gets by evening. It depletes like a battery. That's why impulse purchases spike at 9 p.m. That's why your budget holds until Friday. That's why saving what's left never works. By the time you get there, your brain has burned through its entire decision quota. You hit the end of the day cognitively depleted, and your financial guard is completely down. That's when the delivery app wins. That's when the late-night cart wins. That's when the subscription you swore you'd cancel gets charged for the 9th consecutive month. Every habit on this list works because it removes a decision, not because it demands more from you. We're not adding discipline. We're subtracting decisions. Keep that frame. Let's go. Habit 1. Eat the same meals every week. I know, stay with me. Here's what the food content never touches. The average American household throws away 31% of the food it buys. That's a U.S. Department of Agriculture figure, not a vibe. 1/3 of your grocery bill, straight to the trash. Why? Novelty shopping. You buy what sounds good on Tuesday. By Thursday, 3 of those ingredients are sitting in the fridge judging you while you order delivery instead. The fix is a 6-meal rotation. 6 meals you actually enjoy, cycling every week. You know exactly what to buy, you buy exactly that, and almost nothing gets wasted. Meet Marcus, 23, working 60-hour weeks while finishing school. He was spending $280 a month on groceries for one person, half of which eventually got thrown out. Went to a rotation, dropped to $160. That's $1,440 a year, recovered. Not through discipline. Through removing a decision he was making 52 times a year. Next week's meals are already decided. That's the entire habit. Habit 2. Empty the fridge before you restock. Researchers call this the freshness bias. New food feels like possibility. Old food feels like obligation. When new groceries arrive, the existing items get psychologically buried under the excitement of fresh ones. Your fridge becomes a mausoleum of good intentions. The rule is brutally simple. Before any grocery trip or delivery order, use what's already there. Finish the batch from last week before the next one starts. MIT Consumer Behavior Lab found that households practicing first in, first out restocking reduced food waste by 43% compared to households that restocked freely. 43% of your food bill is not small money. Meet Jordan, 21, tight budget, single room. Used to restock every Sunday regardless of what was still in the fridge. Eggs half used. Vegetables starting to go. A leftover container he'd been meaning to get to tomorrow for 11 days straight. He switched to one simple rule. Shop only after the fridge is functionally empty. First month. Groceries dropped by $68. He hadn't changed a single item he was buying. Same products, same store, $68 back in his account. And you don't need a system for this. You need to open the fridge before you open the delivery app. One behavioral sequence change. Dozens of dollars recovered every single month. Habit 3. Buy most everyday items in bulk. Toilet paper, laundry detergent, coffee, protein bars, toothpaste, trash bags, body wash. The things you consume every week, without fail, without variation. Here's the trap. Individual packaging feels cheaper because the sticker number is smaller. $8 for a pack of batteries sounds friendlier than $28 for the bulk format. But cost per unit? Bulk wins by 30 to 60%, almost across the board. A London School of Economics study on household spending found that consumers who shifted 30% of their regular purchases to bulk format saved an average of $450 per year. $450 for buying the exact same products in a different package. And the behavioral win compounds on top of that. Once you set up the bulk system, you stop thinking about it entirely. You're not buying toothpaste for 4 more months. One decision, made once, generating savings on autopilot. The upfront cost looks bigger. The annual math says otherwise, every single time. That's the cheat code. Not a secret investment, just format arbitrage on stuff you were already buying. Habit 4. Never shop when you're bored. This is neuroscience before it's personal finance. Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of a reward, not at the moment of receiving it. The scroll, the add to cart, the checkout timer counting down, that's the chemical hit your limbic system is chasing. When you're bored, your brain is actively hunting for that signal. Boredom shopping isn't a character flaw. It's your limbic system executing exactly the program it was built to run. Harvard Consumer Lab tracked spending patterns over 6 months. Boredom-triggered purchases averaged 37% higher per transaction than purchases made with a specific need in mind. 37% premium for the same product categories. The fix isn't willpower, it's friction. Move shopping apps off your home screen. Set a 48-hour rule on anything over $30. When the reminder fires the next day, 68% of those wants have already evaporated on their own. 2/3 of your impulse purchases. Eliminated. Without a single moment of self-denial. Habit 5. Do a 10-minute money check every morning. Not a full budget audit. 10 minutes. Open the account, look at the balance, scan recent transactions, close it. Here's why daily beats monthly. Small leaks are invisible at scale. $7 here, $12 fee there. A subscription you mentally canceled 8 months ago, but never actually clicked the button on. You know the one. It's still charging you right now. You just haven't looked. Over a year, those invisible drains average $400 to $800 for a typical household. But visibility changes behavior in a way that intention and motivation never will. University of Hertfordshire research found that people performing daily financial check-ins spent 23% less on discretionary items than those checking monthly. 23%. Not because they budgeted harder, because the number was real and present every single morning. Your brain uses that anchor automatically, below the level of conscious effort. 10 minutes, same time, every day. The score is on the board, and you know it. Habit 6. Pay yourself first, automatically. You've heard this one before. Most people hear it, nod, and keep saving whatever happens to be left at the end of the month. Here's the honest math. There is never anything left. Not because you spent too much, because what's left is a number your brain treats as available. And available money has a way of disappearing into friction, convenience, and the psychological cost of saying no 30 times a day. Pay yourself first means the transfer fires automatically the moment your paycheck lands, before your brain registers the full number as available to spend. Princeton behavioral science research found that households using automated savings saved 400% more than those saving manually, even controlling for income level. 400%. Same salary, one setup. The mechanism runs underneath your awareness. When you see the full amount in your account, your brain marks it as available. When it disappears before you see it, your brain recalibrates the spending baseline to the smaller number. You spend less because you believe you have less. Even knowing the money exists doesn't override the visual baseline. The anchor wins every time. Use that against yourself. Habit 7. The 1-week rule for anything over $50. They love it because it is dramatically cheaper than solving the staffing problem the right way. Here is the math behind the math. Carnegie Mellon research found that mandatory purchase delays reduced final purchase rates by 41%. 41% of the things people were ready to buy, they didn't want 1 week later. Meet Aaliyah, 26, making $44,000 a year. She applied the 1-week rule to everything over $50 and tracked it obsessively for 12 months. At the end of the year, she tallied the purchases she'd initiated and simply never returned to. $1,300, still in her account. She didn't deny herself anything she genuinely wanted. She waited long enough for the impulse to expire on its own. Real wants survive 7 days. Impulses don't. That's basically the whole financial psychology research literature summarized in one rule. Habit 8. Automate every financial process that can be automated. Bills, savings transfers, regular contributions. Everything with a due date or a predictable rhythm. Every manual financial action is a decision point. Decision points create friction. Friction creates delay. Delay creates late fees, missed windows, and money sitting idle when it should be working. The average person pays $157 per year in late fees alone. Not because they can't afford the bill, because the friction of paying it manually was slightly higher than the friction of leaving it for 3 more days. And it's almost never about the money. It's about the moment of opening the app, navigating to the payment screen, entering the account number, confirming the amount. All of that accumulated micro-friction is enough for your brain to file it under tomorrow. And tomorrow has a way of becoming next week, every single time. Set bills to autopay. Set savings to transfer the morning after your paycheck clears. Set whatever regular contributions you have on a fixed, automatic schedule. When the system runs itself, you stop bleeding money to friction. This is not a sophisticated strategy. This is plumbing. Unsexy, invisible, essential plumbing. Habit 9. Track your net worth monthly. One number. Not income, not spending categories. Net worth. Assets minus liabilities. Updated once a month. 20 minutes. Here's why this number changes decisions in a way income tracking can't. Income is a flow. Net worth is the scoreboard. And most people are optimizing the wrong metric. University of Michigan researchers studying long-term financial behavior found that individuals who tracked net worth monthly made significantly stronger financial decisions over time than those tracking income or spending alone. Because the number tells the truth income can hide. Meet Devin, 28, pulling in $62,000 a year, taking weekend trips, upgrading his phone on schedule, thinking he's doing fine. Started tracking net worth as part of a 10-minute Sunday routine. Month 1, negative $14,000. The paycheck felt fine every 2 weeks. The scoreboard said he was going backward. 2 completely different realities, and he'd been living in the wrong one for 3 years without realizing it. You cannot fix what you do not see clearly. One number, once a month. That's the entire habit. Habit 10. Batch your errands and purchasing decisions. Every unplanned trip to a store is a decision environment you entered without armor. You go in for milk. You walk out with milk and $27 of items placed exactly where consumer behavior research says your hand will reach. Grocery chains spend millions calibrating this data. You are not playing an even game on spontaneous visits. Stanford Decision Lab found that batching shopping trips, one planned run per week instead of multiple scattered ad hoc trips, reduced unplanned spending by 28%. 28% from one structural change. And here's the math when you stack all 10. Households implementing even 6 of these habits, imperfectly, inconsistently, but continuously, show annual savings ranging from $10,000 to $30,000, depending on income level. Over a decade, with basic compounding, that trajectory reaches the $100,000 figure. Not from investment genius, not from a secret strategy, from boring system design, applied consistently. Here's what I need you to hold before you close this. None of those 10 habits required you to earn more. None required sacrifice. None required you to become a fundamentally different person. They required removing decisions from the moments your brain is most vulnerable to losing money. The financial system is engineered to extract money at exactly those moments. Your boredom, your exhaustion, your forgotten subscription, your impulse card at midnight. Automation closes those windows. Boring closes those windows. The people selling you urgency, shortcuts, and schemes that let you skip the boring part. They're building wealth from your attempt to avoid it. That's the actual business model. Your impatience is the product they're monetizing. Your belief that boring doesn't work is what keeps you paying for exciting. The quietly wealthy? They built the boring systems years ago. Now those systems just run. No dashboards, no motivation required, no Sunday night anxiety about what they should have done differently this week. And the wildest part? Once the systems are in place, they cost you nothing to maintain. The hard part is the setup. Everything after that is just watching the math work quietly in the background while you live your actual life. And if you want to understand why most people set all of this up and still manage to blow it, I broke down the exact behavioral trap in the previous video. Links in the description. But first, tell me in the comments, which of these 10 unsexy habits do you already run? And which one actually surprised you? Not the polished answer, the real one. If this hit different from the usual money content, you know what to do. Don't let them play you. Listen to what they're actually saying.